picture of what my business card looked like. I just couldn't tell if that one that I was looking at was it or not.
It's just so fascinating.
Yeah, it was just pixels, 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 pixels. Everything was pixels. So, you know, when you're looking at some art and you see all the pixels, and then sometimes then the picture comes to you.
Yes.
Same kind of thing. But that was my what I was dependent on.
I'm joined by brain scientist Jill Bolte Taylor, author of My Stroke of Insight, who had the stroke and lived to not only tell about it, write about it, but was conscious the whole time. And how long is all of this taking? How long is this whole process?
The whole morning took about 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I didn't get that from the book.
Yeah, it took a whole morning.
Wow, time is running out on you.
Time was running out. Yeah, time was running out.
Because at this whole time, you're bleeding into your brain.
Bleeding. And the hemorrhage is getting bigger and bigger, and as the hemorrhage gets bigger, more and more circuits are going offline.
Okay, so you finally managed to call your coworker.
Yes.
And from what I was reading in your book, is it that you just sort of remembered, your right hemisphere remembered where to place your fingers on the phone?
Yes.
Or did you actually remember the number?
I had a number flash into my mind, but at this point I didn't really know what numbers were, so I had to match the squiggle, the shape of the squiggle in my mind to the shape of the squiggle on the pad and get it dialed out that way.
Wow.
But again, it was a process. It was trying to figure out, okay, the main number came out, and then it was like, but there's more to it. There's something in front of it. There's something in front of it. So it was just a major struggle process.
So, and is all of this happening between, flashes of lucidity where you're still thinking, wow, it's cool.
Exactly.
I'm all cells. Look at this.
Oh, yeah, because I'm just drifting out, and when I drift out, I have no idea.
Sounds like an LSD trip.
Well, I get a lot of that.
Sounds like what I've heard people say LSD is, which must... LSD must shut down a certain part of the brain.
Right. Yeah, LSD, any drug that goes in is just shutting down certain circuits, inhibiting some, creating dominance for others. And apparently it does, I missed that era as well. So, but allows you this portion of the brain for people to have the perception that it is there, that it does exist.
Okay. So you are in the midst of this in and out, being lucid and not, and figure out a way to call. Right. When you finally go to speak to call, tell us what happened.
Well, when my colleague first answers the phone, he says, "Roar, roar, roar, roar." And I'm sure he didn't say that, but that's what I heard. He sounded like a golden retriever, and because I had a golden retriever, and I thought he sounds just like a golden retriever. And I was like, wow, and at the same time I'm thinking, oh, I've got a problem, and
because the part of your brain that now can translate language
exactly is no longer functioning.
Wow.
And so I'm saying to him, clear in my mind, I'm saying, this is Jill, I need help, but what's coming out is because I couldn't get the apparatus.
So you couldn't speak, nor could you understand what he was saying? I could not
understand, yeah.
So how did he understand?
Well, he recognized that we're very good friends, so he recognized that I needed help, and so then he got me help.
Could you, in your own mind, hear language?
Yes.
In your own mind, you knew what you were saying?
Yes, clearly. And in my own mind, I could see my business card. I just couldn't translate what was inside my head to the external world.
Yes, because the part of your mind, because what I learned from reading My Stroke of Insight is that the right brain is the big picture of things.
Right.
So the right brain knows that there is language.
Yes.
But the left brain actually interprets the language.
And performs the function. Right.
So the right brain knew that what it was, but the left brain couldn't do it.
Right. Oh, I knew all this stuff. I just couldn't find any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
See?
Just fascinating. I'm so fascinated by it. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you went to speak, it was all gibber jabber.
Yeah.
But what also fascinated me is that when you hung up the phone, even though you didn't understand what he said and recognized that you probably weren't understood, the right brain understood that he was going to help you.
He was going to get me help. Exactly. Because the right hemisphere is the big picture of language, which is intonation, voice inflection, the bigger picture of the emotional content of language. So he could have said to me anything, and I didn't get the verbiage, but because of the way his voice communicated, I could tell that he understood I needed help, and he would get me help.
That was so insightful to me, because what I realized is that probably, and for anybody else who is listening or watching this, is that for so many people who have been discounted because of their disabilities,
Right.
because they don't understand us, or we think they don't understand us and they cannot communicate it, they're in there.
They're in there.
They're in there.
They're in there, and they're watching.
They're in there, and their perception
That's right.
of how you perceive them
Yeah.
is very clear.
Yeah.
So they know if you're scared,
Oh,
they know if you're intimidated,
absolutely.
they know if you're, that sense is heightened more so
Yes.
than anything else. So just
Absolutely.
because you don't have the language,
Be very careful.
when you get to the hospital also, tell us about that process. There's so much to learn about the way people are treated.
When I arrived in the emergency room, it was just a hustling beehive and energy coming at me from everywhere. And I had slowed so far down that, just normal life outside felt like it was very fast, much less what you get inside of an emergency room. And people are swarming the gurney, and they're poking me and prodding me and giving me something to sign in this condition where it's like, I have no idea
Who I am.
and I have to sign this thing, and my right arm had gone paralyzed, and I was fortunate that it came mostly back, but it was still just totally limp, and it was like, what is, it was kind
That
of
is
absurd.
crazy.
It was crazy. And then I just
Can
wanted
you
to
sign
escape
this?
it.
I don't even know who I am, and my right arm doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you first arrived in the hospital, one of the things I remember you saying is that repeatedly different people came in to do the same thing.
Right, right.
And that one of the first things that you learned was that hospitals should be about conserving a
Exactly.
patient's energy
Exactly.
instead of taking it away.
Exactly. Yeah, I learned that there are two kind of people on the planet: people who bring you energy, or people who take your energy away. And that was all I had at that point. So I had this precious little reservoir, and if someone was going to come and interact with me, I needed them to bring me themselves. I needed them to look me in the eye and to touch me and to just bring their hope and their energy to me, as opposed to taking energy away.
No, I love this. This is going to be one of my favorite quotes of all time now. I shared this with one of my producers, and I'm in the midst of creating a new company, a new network, and I sent her an email this weekend after reading this saying, this is my mantra for my new company. I really need people to take responsibility for the kind of energy they bring to me.
Amen.
You write that on page 120.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, I needed people to be walk-in conscious. Walk-in. I teach first-year medical students, so I'm preaching to these kids. Your patients, they may be in this totally discombobulated condition, but when you walk in the room, you've got to show up for them 100%. And I agree. I think it should be a motto for life.
Yeah. Take responsibility
Take
for the energy
responsibility.
that you're bringing to
Absolutely.
me.
That's right.
And so you would ask people to soften their brows
Yeah.
and don't come bringing me your bad energy
That's
into
right.
the room
That's right.
because your right hemisphere could so perceive
Yeah.
those people who were there with the intention to help you
Right.
and those people who didn't,
Right.
really care, who were going through the motions. Share with us the moment when the nurse comes into the room and she's fixing the windows and she opens the blinds and
Yeah, there was just one woman who, she never looked me in the eye. She shuffled in her steps. She brought me a tray of food. Here I am. I'm a stroke survivor, triumphant.
Yeah,
And I couldn't use my hands to open the container of orange juice.
so she drops the food in front
She
of you.
just leaves it in front of me, and no help and no connection, and then she gave me a medication that was actually a generic form of the medication that I had gotten earlier. All I knew, it was different, and by that point I did not trust that woman, and I did not want to do anything. I was afraid she was going to kill me. As opposed to another nurse who came on at another time, who comes in, she's gentle, she connects with me, she looks me in the eye, she makes sure I'm warm enough, she really tends to my need, and that person I felt safe with.
Well, you know what it is? It's amazing that you were able to know all of this and the left hemisphere is shut down.
Totally shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the right hemisphere is intuition
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
perception.
The big picture. It's just that whole awareness and body language and subtle communications.